2023 was an incredible year for cinema, especially for big screen experiences that appeared to be fading away. For that very reason, 2024 doesn't have it easy to surpass its predecessor, but there are many promising releases, especially from our favorite genre, horror. Hey guys, welcome back to the Replay Media, and get ready to face possessions, ancient demons, and beings from outer space, because today we're going to take a look at the most anticipated horror movies of 2024. From new projects, sequels of great sagas, and even prequels to classics, this year promises to scare the hell out of us. But first of all, turn off the light. You'll have a better experience. Imaginary, directed by Jeff Wadlow. If you're a Ted fan, I think you'll stop liking him after you see this movie. Imaginary follows the story of Jessica, a woman who returns to her childhood home with her family and encounters Chauncey, an old teddy bear she played with as a child, and now her stepdaughter Alice has grown attached too. However, after Alice's behavior becomes disturbing and the games she and Chauncey play become increasingly sinister, Jessica begins to realize that Chauncey is much more than the teddy bear she thought it was all those years ago. Directed by Jeff Wadlow from Blumhouse Productions, this film will be a demonstration that kids' stuff can reach very dark tones. It gets worse if there's a strange teddy bear that is now the imaginary friend of the boy or girl who owns it. Fun fact, Imaginary soundtrack is composed by Bear McCreary, known for his work on the soundtrack of The Lord of the Rings of Power, and of course, the soundtrack of God of War. The First Omen, directed by Arkasha Stevenson. The Omen from 1976 is one of the great horror classics, with a creepy performance by Harvey Stevens as the little Antichrist and a spectacular as well as sinister score. It is very difficult to make films based on this story, as even its sequels did not do so well, although 20th Century Studios dared to produce a prequel that promises to be as terrifying as the original. The First Omen revolves around Margaret, a young American woman who is sent to Rome to begin a life of service to the church. However, she soon encounters a darkness that questions her own faith and uncovers a terrifying conspiracy that hopes to provoke the birth of evil incarnate. Beyond the terrifying moments and the creation of the Antichrist, the film promises to explore the more sinister corners of religion, a controversial subject that doesn't fail to entertain. They have big shoes to fill, but they have the resources to do it. Abigail, directed by Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette. Vampires have been recurring horror movie villains for decades, though that doesn't mean they can't reinvent themselves, and that's because you'd never expect a little innocent girl could leave you drained of blood. Abigail centers around a group of would-be criminals who kidnap a 12-year-old ballerina, the daughter of a powerful criminal figure, for a $50 million ransom. Isolated in a mansion, the captors begin to disappear one by one and discover that the little girl is not locked up with them, but that they are locked up with her. With the directors behind Ready or Not and the latest Scream films, Abigail is based on a premise we've seen many times before, but it still works. With an excellent cast with names like Melissa Barrera, Kevin Durand, Catherine Newton, and Dan Stevens, this film has everything to be as funny and scary at the same time. Plus, it's the last film we'll see Angus Cloud in, so let's honor his memory by watching it. Tarot, directed by Spencer Cohen and Anna Hauberg. Omens, vampires, and tarot? We'd never associate that with horror, but Sony Pictures thought it was an excellent idea. This upcoming film from first-timers Spencer Cohen and Anna Hauberg follows a group of friends who recklessly break the sacred rule of tarot card reading: never use someone else's deck. In doing so, the teenagers unwittingly unleash an evil trapped in the cursed tarot cards, whose spirits try to hunt them down as the protagonists embark on a race against death to escape the future the cards foretell. With Alana Bolden, Jacob Batalon, and Avantika Vandanapu as the most notable names in the cast, Tarot draws from films like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark to create an experience where you'll have a bad time, but the intrigue will keep you glued to the screen. We all want to know what that next spirit is. Trap, directed by M. Night Shyamalan. The prolific director M. Night Shyamalan has not been so prolific these past few years, as his last few films have disappointed both critics and general audiences. He seems to have lost the magic he showed in The Sixth Sense and The Village, though so little is known about his next film that I'd say he's betting everything on it. Trap is the title chosen by the director to delve once again into the worst nightmares of his fans. According to Shyamalan, this film is a psychological thriller that takes place at a concert. The film will star Josh Hartnett and Salika Shyamalan, M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, and so far, that's all we know about it. On the other hand, Ashana Shyamalan also plans to follow in her father's footsteps by making her directorial debut in June with The Watchers, defined as a gothic fairy tale. Beyond that, there is no further information on Trap, but considering the excitement of its director, we can expect to be surprised. The Strangers, Chapter 1, directed by Rennie Harlin. Back in 2008, The Strangers became a big success for its simple but effective premise, with no need for jump scares or anything supernatural. The villains were just bad people, and sometimes that's scarier than a whole army of demons. This 2024, Lionsgate will look to reintegrate that concept to the public's taste with a new trilogy whose first chapter revolves around a young couple who go on a journey to get a fresh start. Unfortunately, they have no choice but to stop at an isolated Airbnb in Oregon, where they are going to have a terrifying night against 3 masked strangers. On the surface, it's sort of a remake of the original, though Lionsgate intends to start a trilogy in which, for the first time, the identity of the strangers and how they got to that point of madness will be revealed. Some might say that takes the fun out of the saga, but it sounds like an interesting proposition. Speak No Evil, directed by James Watkins. Just 2 years ago, Danish cinema took the world by surprise with Speak No Evil, a psychological horror film with hints of dark comedy that was a huge success. The script was top-notch material, so Jason Blum bought the rights to make an American adaptation. The result is Speak No Evil, the story of a family that is invited by a couple they have just met to spend a weekend at a country house. A dream vacation that ends in a nightmare. It's hard to say if they'll match or even surpass the original film, although they were smart to hire James Watkins, a guy who knows a lot about nightmarish vacations with great stories like Eden Lake. Plus, they have the talents of James McAvoy, Mackenzie Davis, and Scoop McNairy. So their adaptation better live up to the original. Maxxxine, directed by Ty West. In 2022, X drew attention for its twists, good performances, and visual look that paid homage to the great slashers of the last century. Its sequel, Pearl, was loved by many, especially for Mia Goth's performance. That's why expectations are high for the trilogy's finale, titled Maxxxine, in which Mia Goth's famous character will try to carve out a life for herself as an actress in the always hectic city of LA. At first, everything seems to be going well, until dead bodies start appearing around her. As the previous films did, Maxxxine will combine the slasher with a new genre, the crime novel. It is a most peculiar mix that Ty West will know how to take advantage of, along with the talent of Mia Goth, Elizabeth Debicki, Michelle Monaghan, Kevin Bacon, Lily Collins, Giancarlo Esposito, and Halsey. Gone is the cast of a low-budget film, a testament to the confidence A24 has placed in this saga. A Quiet Place, Day 1, directed by Michael Sarnowski. The two A Quiet Place films are great exponents of modern horror, but the third and final part is still missing. The funny thing is that we won't follow the Abbott family, but a few new characters who witnessed Day 1, the day the deadly aliens arrived on the planet to murder anyone who makes the slightest noise. This time, John Krasinski hands over the director's chair to Michael Sarnowski, known for Pig, the film about Nicolas Cage in John Wick mode to save his little pig. So far, details of the story are unknown, beyond the fact that Lupita Nyong'o, Joseph Quinn, and Alex Wolff composed the cast. The only returning character from the previous installments is Jaimin Hansu, whose community we saw in A Quiet Place Part 2, so this spin-off could lead us to know how they face the invasion. Will it be a closure to live up to the great saga, or will it suffer the curse of the third parts? We will find out in June. Nosferatu, directed by Robert Eggers. With only 2 films, The Witch and The Lighthouse, Robert Eggers proved that he is one of the best horror directors today. And with The Northman, he proved that he is quite good at commercial cinema without losing his characteristic essence. Thanks to these factors, Universal Pictures entrusted him with the remake of Nosferatu, a film that 100 years after its release is still one of the most terrifying in history and has one of the best interpretations of Count Dracula. Set in the 19th century, this gothic tale of obsession, love, seduction, and fear follows a young man named Thomas Hutter who is sent by his boss to Count Orlok's castle, and the rest of the story you already know. The confirmed stars include Bill Skarsgård, Lily Rose Depp, Nicholas Hoult, Emma Corrin, Aaron Taylor Johnson, and Willem Dafoe. Undoubtedly, the most exciting are Skarsgård as the Count, given his ability to transform into monsters as Pennywise, and Dafoe as a reinterpretation of Professor Van Helsing. So far, there are only a few images of the film, but they are enough to know that it will be one of the best films of this year and possibly going to make history in the horror genre. Expectations are very high, although Eggers never disappoints. And so, we come to the end of this review of the top 10 anticipated horror releases of 2024. Still, there were a few films left out that deserve a mention, such as Alien Romulus, Smile 2, Saw 11, Wolfman, and many more. Well, by now, you can turn on the light, but I recommend you get used to the darkness, because we're expecting a very scary year.